I'm starting from parting into the garden. It's full of water and yeast, no parts are hardened. Release the beast, disease, and all this tarnished. King got the keys to death, nobody's mourning. AOSD, RPK, SF wisdom all day. Best and better life, all thankful, feel always. Resurrection, that's the blessing in the book. All praise, Philo, Enoch, Josephus in the Bible, so much grace. Praying and fasting, let's do action, God's in the base. Biblical action, covenant smoking, acting ratchet, doctrine dead, close to casket. Now subscribe to the channel, join the family. They're the truths and the banner. FYI, don't get lost in the grammar. AOSD Chandler.
I don't know why. Why? What's going on with my? Hold on. Give me 1 second. Let's see if I. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that, y'all. I'm trying to get some things together. Um, I don't know if my internet is working, so I'm just trying to see how things are sounding. Let's see here. Let's see here. This is Elvin Israel from the Assembly of Sound Doctrine channel. Let's see if I'm picking up. Trying to get my. There we go. I'm trying to get the my internet was messing up, so I'm trying to see if I'm actually playing on Facebook. So give me 1 second to see if I'm playing loud on Facebook. Okay, yeah, okay, I can hear myself. This is Elvin Israel from the Assembly of Sound Doctrine Chandler. AOSDCHANDLER, where nothing but biblical truth is presented in any and every way. I'm proud, happy, and etc. to be back, dropping another lesson on the masses. Also on YouTube, you can check out SF Wisdom, stands for Snake Fighting Wisdom, SF Wisdom, as well as RPK Resurrection, Prophecy, and Kingdom. And then you can go to my mentors page, also All Things Fulfilled. And if you have not, check out the website, www.thefirstchurch.live. And you can go to Amazon to purchase our book from our group, me and Brother Michael, co-authored. It is The Circumcision and Uncircumcision of Genesis chapter 1, Mysteries of the Garden Revealed, for a low price right now on Amazon if you want to see the backstory of Genesis chapter 1 and how the Bible uses it. Okay, so we have uh, a very educational, uh, information packed build coming up today in lecture format. Um, I was wrestling with if I was going to actually go through the Antichrist on proving who the Antichrist is per se, but we didn't already did a reasoning on that on Facebook. So on Clubhouse. So come to our Clubhouse Assembly Sound Doctrine as well as RPK University, and you can actually get that lesson. Now this what I finna bring out is gonna have elements of that lesson, but what I want to do in the meanwhile, I want to walk down how Daniel himself was trying to tell us how to what's the word I'm looking for? How to transcribe or how to evaluate or how to uh, decode his book. Daniel himself, he started off trying to tell us how to look at the information that he was bringing out, and it has been overlooked so many thousands of years. You can look at the rabbinical literature as well as some of the breakdowns that's provided even till today, and a lot of people overlook how Daniel himself was trying to throw hints on how to understand his visions. So what we're going to do today, we're actually going to go through the hints that Daniel left, and we're going to do a side by side read on what actually Daniel was bringing out. And not only would this reveal the Antichrist, but this will also reveal the timeline that Daniel was dealing with, because a lot of people get the timeline off also. So today, hopefully, we're gonna unpack all of this information in a timely matter. Shalom to the brothers on stage. Do you guys want to add anything?
Also remind the people to check out Bats on Better Life on what you can call it on TikTok. I was just on with my brother Bobby Bats the other night, and his following is going stronger and stronger every day on there. He got great content, so that's it.
Well, I appreciate that, brother, for giving brother Bobby a shout out also, because he does indeed have fantastic work. Well, let's get ready to get started. We're gonna start. Y'all know me. I'm gonna try to be reading from the Greek transcript of the Bible that was transcribed into English. I prefer that over the Masoretic text any day. But it really doesn't matter because it pretty much says around the same thing. So we might go back and forth. But Daniel chapter 2, we're going to start at verse 31 through 33. Y'all know how I do it. I do a little bit, pause, do a little bit, pause, and then we should be done. So Daniel 2, 31 through 33. It says, Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, an image. Now let me make sure. Okay. An image. That image was great, and the appearance of it excellent, standing before thy face, and the form of it was terrible. All right. First thing that gets overlooked is the understanding that this right here in Daniel 2 is pretty much an explanation on how you're supposed to look at the rest of Daniel. You guys mind bringing him up and moderating him? So, I appreciate it. So now, thou, O king, sawest, and behold, an image. Notice, it's one image, not images, plural, one image. That's going to be very important to understand how Daniel writes. So, It was an image. The head of it was of fine gold. Its hands and breast and arms of silver. Its belly and thighs of brass. Its legs of iron. Its feet part of iron and part of earthenware. So that's the image that Daniel, the King Nebuchadnezzar saw. But we're going to go down to the explanation of the image. So starting at verse 37, Thou, O king, art a king of kings, to whom the God of heaven has given a powerful and strong and honorable kingdom. So understand the Adamic language there. In every place where the children of men dwell, and he has given into thine hands the wild beasts of the field, and the birds of the sky, and the fish of the sea, and he has made thee Lord of all. Thou art the head of gold, and after thee shall arise another kingdom, inferior to thee, and a third kingdom, which is the brass, which shall have dominion over all the earth, and a fourth kingdom, which shall be strong as iron beats to powder and subdues all things. So shall it beat to powder and subdue. And if you guys don't mind, I forgot to do it myself. Ping some people in the room if you guys don't mind, and let's see if anyone would like to hear what's going to be presented today. Um, I was told by Brother Arnez to make sure I pinged him. Does anyone have Arnez as a friend to ping him? Okay. Okay, I definitely appreciate that. He told me to make sure to ping him. All righty. All right, so now, the thing to notice about this one image is that there's a plethora of kingdoms in this one image. Once again, this is the most important factor to understand Daniel. This is one image that houses a plethora of kingdoms. So, in other words, this one body represents many. This one body that's seen in the vision represents a corporate body. That's the most important thing that you can understand dealing with Daniel's vision. Shalom, brother Vinny. Thank you for listening in. I definitely appreciate that. So there's one body, many representing many people. Okay, that's one thing you got to understand. So that's the setup for all the visions of Daniel. If you miss this one element, you're going to be confused with the rest of the book of Daniel. You're going to make Daniel be talking about the Pope. You're going to make him be talking about the Roman Catholic Church. You're going to be making them talk about Putin. You're going to be making them talk about Obama and etc. Because you missed this one important element of federal headship. Now, I heard my brother Mike say that term, and it stuck with me. So, that federal headship. So, we're going to continue. Daniel 7. I'm going to show you this again. I'm going to show you how this got overlooked. And when this point get overlooked, you don't understand what's going on in Daniel. Especially when we start talking about the Antichrist, you're not going to understand it because you don't understand how Daniel was actually writing. So now, Daniel 7 and 2. I Daniel beheld, and lo, the four winds of heaven blew violently upon the great sea, Notice violently, he's introducing violence. 2, verse 3. And there came up 4 great beasts out of the sea, differing from one another. How many beasts was it? 4. 4 beasts. So let's keep going. The first was as a lioness, and her wings as an eagle's. I beheld, and to her wings were plucked, and she was lifted up from the earth, and she stood on human feet, and a man's heart were given to her. Listen to some of the words that he said. Plucked, right? And behold, a second beast, like a bear, and it supported itself on one side. And there were 3 ribs in its mouth. All of these things mean something. Between its teeth, and thus, you see that the word teeth is introduced there. 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth, and thus they said to it, arise, devour much flesh. Verse 6, after this one I looked, and behold, another wild beast as a leopard, and it had 4 wings of a bird upon it, and the wild beast had 4 heads, and power was given to it. Verse 7, and this one I looked, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and exceedingly strong, and its teeth were of iron, devouring and crushing to atoms, and it trampled the remainder with its feet, and it was altogether different from the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Today, we're going to find out what this stuff is talking about. That's what we're going to find out today, using Daniel. Verse 17. These 4 beasts are 4 kingdoms that shall arise upon the earth. So kingdoms with the S. How many people are in it? Is composed of a kingdom? Is it one person in the kingdom, or is it a group of people, a group of citizens that make up a kingdom? So you can clearly see how one singular beast represented a plural group of people. One represented many. One body represented many people. This is the second time Daniel has introduced the concept of one image, federal body, or federal headship, or a corporate body. This is the second time Daniel has introduced it. We're going to read now Daniel 7:13 through 14. Listen to what it says. I beheld in the night vision, and lo, one, how many? One coming with the clouds of heaven as the Son of Man. One. And he, one, came to the Ancient of Days and was brought near to him. And to him, one, was given the dominion and the honor and the kingdom. And all nations, tribes, and languages shall serve him. One. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom shall not be destroyed. So we have that information, right? But let's look at the interpretation, the true meaning of the vision. And this is the same vision that the Torah and Tanakh only people use to go against the New Testament and the Son of Man and Daniel, because they misunderstand it too. But let's read it. So this is the interpretation of the vision. Daniel 7:26 and 27. And the judgment has set, and they, more than one, shall remove his dominion to abolish it, that will be talking about the beast, and to destroy it utterly. And the kingdom and the power and the greatness of the kings, more than one, that are under the whole heaven were given to the saints of the Most High. And his kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all power shall serve and obey him. So you see in the vision, the Son of Man got the kingdom. In the interpretation, the saints received the kingdom. So once again, you can see how one represents many. Son of Man, one gets the kingdom. Many saints gets the kingdom. This is the third time Daniel has introduced the concept of one actually representing many. Third time he did it. Why come no one has ever brought this out? If we're going to understand how to read Daniel, we need to know these elements of what's going on. Too many concentrating on the singular, not understanding the singular represents plurality. Let's go to another one. Daniel 8, and then once I'm done with all of this, I'm going to read out of Josephus. Then I'm going to cut it and see if anybody on the stage or anybody in the audience want to say something before I continue on. So this is Daniel 8 and 3. I'm going to read 3 through 5 and 8. It says, "And I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, a ram." How many? One. "Standing in front of the Ubal. And he had high horns, and one higher than the other. And the high one came up last. And I saw the ram budding westward and northward and southward." How many directions is that? Westward is one direction. Northward is two directions. Southward is three directions. "And no beast could stand before him. And there was none that could deliver out of his hand. And he did according to his will and became great. And I was considering, and behold, a he goat came from the south, west, on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the earth. And the goat had a horn between his eyes." So now, remember, Daniel is not saying, the Holy Spirit don't have Daniel saying idle words. So pick up to some of the things that was said. One of the things was said was the ram was budding three different directions. So the number 3, that should resonate in your mind from a previous vision. But also, not just that, notice about the he goat. What did it say the he goat didn't do? The he goat touched not the earth. The he goat touched not the earth. What does that mean? That means that its feet wasn't on the ground. So what causes an animal to be able to exist but not touch the ground? What do an animal have to have? Wings to make it fly. Hopefully we're understanding that this is piggybacking off of Daniel chapter 7. So now, let's look at the explanation. Well, let's go to, did I read verse 8? Verse 8. "And the he goat grew exceedingly great, and when he was strong, his great horn was broken, and 4 other horns rose up in its place toward the 4 winds of heaven." So now we're introduced to the number 4. So we see, once we go to Daniel 7, right? Daniel 7, a lioness. Daniel 7:4, a lioness. Daniel 7:5, a second bear that has 3 ribs. Daniel 7:6, another one that had 4. And then, well, we could keep going on, but Daniel 7:6, a leopard with wings. What do wings mean? Like a bird, flies, don't touch the earth. Had 4 heads. What did Daniel 7:8 said? The kingdom was broken to 4 directions. So hopefully we can see. And then the Holy Spirit is actually playing with the numbers there also. You can see it started off with 1, and then it started off with 2, then it went to 3 and 4. What I mean by that, 1 lioness, right? Then the second bear had 3 ribs in his mouth. And then the third animal had 4 heads. And then eventually we see the 4th beast, and it actually goes to 10, to 11 to 8. So it's the Holy Spirit is playing with these numbers. But anyway, so we can clearly see. Hold on. Before that, let's give the explanation now. So Daniel 8:20 through 22. This is the explanation. The he goat is the king of the Greeks. Remember, it's one goat, king of the Greeks. And the great horn, which was between his eyes, he is the first king. So we got one goat, and we have two kings, and we're going to see if it's even more later on, inside of that goat. So we have one body, more representing more than one. Verse 22. And as for the one that was broken, in whose place stood up four horns, four kings shall arise out of his nation, but not in their own strength. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when their sins are coming to the full, there shall arise a king bold in countenance and understanding riddles. So you have this goat. It went from, well, verse 20, the ram which thou sawest that had the horns is the king of the Medes and Persians. And we know in Daniel 7, the Medes and Persian was the bear that had three ribs in his mouth. And now this this ram was budding three different directions. And then what happened after Daniel 7, a leopard with wings and four heads was introduced. And now in the same order, we have this he goat being broken, and then four horns coming up, and then eventually another one comes up. So in other words, this one this one body is representing plurality, more than one individual. So I'm finna open it up to Antiquity of the Jews real fast, and then after I read this, I'm gonna open it up and see if everything is flowing good so far. So give me 1 second. Antiquity of the Jews, book 10, chapter 11. You see here it says concerning Nebuchadnezzar and his successors and how the government was dissolved by the Persians and what things befell Daniel and Media and what prophecies he delivered there. We're going to go to section 7 now. And in section 7, this is what Josephus, the priest, first century priest, left for us for the records. He's going to talk about these animals. So let's see here. He also wrote and left behind, and what was made manifest, the accuracy and undeniable veracity of his predictions. For he said that when he was in Susa, the metropolis of Persia, and went out into the field with his companions, there was on the sudden a motion and concussion of the earth, that he was left alone by himself, his friends fleeing away from him, that he was disturbed and fell on his face and on his 10 hands. On his 2 hands. Let me skip. And then a certain person touched him, and at the same time bid him rise and see what will befall his countrymen after many generations. What will befall his countrymen, the Jews, after many generations. He also related that when he stood up, he was shown a great rain, or I guess this is where they messed up, because it should have been ram, but a great ram with many horns growing out of his head, and that the last was higher than the rest. That after this he looked to the west and saw a he goat carried through the air from that quarter. That he rushed upon the ram with violence, and he smote him twice with his horns, and overthrew him to the ground and trampled on him. That afterward he saw a great horn growing out of his head, the head of the he goat, that when it was broken off, 4 horns grew up that were exposed to each other of the 4 winds, and he wrote that out of them arose another lesser horn, which, as he said, waxed great. And God showed to him that it should fight against his nation, that little was going to fight against the Jews, and take their city by force, and bring the temple worship to confusion, and forbid the sacrifice to be offered for 296 days. Daniel wrote that he saw these visions in the plain of Susa. And he informed us that God interpreted the appearance of this vision in the following manner. He said that the ram signified the kingdoms, S, of the Medes and Persians, and the horns, those kings, S, that were to reign in them, and that the last horn signified the last king, and that he should exceed all the kings in riches and glory, and that the he goat signified that one should come and reign from the Greeks, who should fight twice with the Persian and overcome him in battle, and should receive his entire dominion, and that by that great horn which sprang up out of the forehead of the he goat was meant the first king, and that the springing up of the four horns upon its falling off and the conversion of every one of them to the four quarters of the earth signified the successors that should arise after the death of the first king and the partition of the kingdom among them, and that they should be neither his children nor his kindred, nor should reign over the habitable earth for many years. And from among them should arise a certain king that shall overcome our nations and laws and spoil the temple. And then he said this entire is Epiphanes, and eventually Daniel wrote in the same manner that the Roman government was going to do it. But the point is to show you that Josephus, even understanding the what's going on with Daniel, the prophecy, the vision, he understood that the animals represented a corporate body, represented many people. So once we go and venture through Daniel, understand just because you see singular, it doesn't mean always mean singular. Just because you see a singular entity, as Daniel has been writing throughout all his visions, the singular entity could represent a plurality of people. It could represent the corporate body. This information is really needed to know in order to understand what's going on in the book of Daniel. So now I'll open it up and see if anybody want to add anything before we continue on. And if not, I will continue on. So does anyone want to add anything?
So far, so can't wait to hear the rest. Hey, what part of the book of Josephus you got that in, brother?
So do I need to if y'all ready for me to continue?
I think Demetrius asked questions.
My bad, I didn't hear you. My bad. Go ahead, Demetrius. My bad. Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't know. What book was that in Josephus that you just read?
Okay, yes, sir. It was Josephus, Antiquity of the Jews. It was book 10, chapter 11, section 7.
Okay, book 10, chapter 11,
And section 7.
section 7.
Yes, sir. And my apologies, I didn't hear you ask the question. So is there anything else before I need to continue? Anybody in the audience want to say anything so far before I go to the second point? Sorry about that. All righty. Well, to the second point then. We're going to go to Daniel 7. Now, this fourth beast, this fourth beast has been overlooked also. And a lot of people don't understand what's going on with this fourth beast But we're finna unlock this fourth beast right now. Am I picking up still? Can y'all hear me? Okay, I appreciate it. So now you have to use Daniel to understand Daniel. So we have the understanding of the corporate body right now. We got the understanding of a singular representing plurality. But now let's look at this fourth beast. First of all, the book of Revelation 13, and then we're going to go to the fourth beast just to show you something. Revelation 13, 1 and 2. It says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast, one beast, rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority." So notice, John the Revelator, he's piggybacking off of what happened in Daniel chapter 7. And he said he saw one beast come out of the sea. Meanwhile, Daniel saw 4 beasts coming out of the sea. But this one beast that John the Revelator saw come out of the sea, it has the elements, all of the elements that Daniel saw in Daniel 7. But what else does this represent? You see how this one beast have all of the elements of the individual beasts that happened in Daniel 7? But guess what? In Daniel 2, it was one image that had all of the elements of the kingdoms. So now in Revelation 13, it is one beast that have all of the elements of the kingdom. So what John the Revelator did, he took the ideal of Daniel 2 and Daniel 7 and put them together. He combined them together through the Holy Spirit. So Daniel had them separated. John the Revelator, he combined them so we can understand what's happening in the book of Revelation. So I just wanted to say that little tidbit before we go to Daniel. So now, Daniel 7, and I'm going to actually show you that Daniel did the same thing in Daniel 7, but people missed it. So I like using the Daniel 7 and Daniel 2 narrative to show what John the Revelator was doing via the Holy Spirit. But if you want to keep them separate, Daniel actually did it during the fourth beast. And let me show you how. So this is Daniel 7. "After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth." We're gonna make some of this. We're gonna understand some of this. "It had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. And I considered the horns, and behold, there came up another among them, another little horn." Hold on. I'm reading out of the KJV. Let me get that back. "After this one I looked, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and exceedingly strong. And its teeth were of iron, devouring and crushing to atoms, and it trampled the remainder with its feet. And it was altogether different from the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I noticed his horns, and behold, another little horn came up in the midst of them, and before it 3 of the former horns were rooted out, and behold, there were eyes as the eyes of a man in this horn, and a mouth speaking great things." So, verse 11, I beheld then because of the voice of the great horn, the great words which that horn spoke, until the wild beast was slain and destroyed, and his body to be burnt with fire. So we have the destruction of that horn eventually. The beast was slain and destroyed. And then we're going to go to verse 19. Then I inquired carefully concerning the fourth beast, for it differed from every other beast, exceeding dreadful. Its teeth were of iron, and its claws of brass, devouring and utterly breaking to pieces, and it trampled the remainder with its feet. So now, if you just are stuck on that explanation, then you're going to overlook what Daniel was actually saying about this fourth beast. And I think I'm going to use a little bit of the KJV with this one also to help expand or show more of the imagery. So, Daniel 7 and 7, he says, and after this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. Right? So this fourth beast, that's the KJV, and it says in the Greek Brenton also, that this fourth beast was dreadful and terrible. Where do we get this language from? Dreadful and terrible. And it was exceedingly strong. Well, Daniel 2, verse 31. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, an image. That image was great, and the appearance of it excellent, standing before thy face. And the form of it was terrible. Okay, so it was terrible. The image that Daniel saw was terrible. Let's see, he said it was exceedingly strong, right? Daniel 8 and 6. And he came to the ram that had the horns, which I had seen standing in front of the ewe, and he ran at him with the violence of his strength. And then, verse 8, and the he goat grew exceedingly great, and he was strong. His great horn was broken. So we see right now that Daniel 7, hold on, give me 1 second. Daniel 7, let's see here. 1 sec. Give me 1 sec. Hold on. So, uh, Daniel 7, it says, now look and behold, the fourth beast. So we got it dreadful, terrible, exceedingly strong. So the statue that he saw was terrible. The ram and the he goat was exceedingly strong. But also in Daniel 7, what else do you see? Its teeth were of iron. But I want to go down to 19 because it gives us a little bit better breakdown. It says, then I inquired carefully concerning the fourth beast, for it differed from every other beast, exceeding dreadful. Its teeth were of iron, and its claws of brass. Where do we see that at? The teeth were of iron, the claws of brass. Once you go back to Daniel chapter 2, look at these elements right here. Daniel 2, verse number 33. Its legs of iron, its feet part of iron and part of earthenware. And we can also go into verse 32, the one above it. The head was of fine gold, its hands, breasts, and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of brass, the legs of iron. So you have the brass introduced in the statue, you got the iron introduced in the statue, and in Daniel 7, dealing with this fourth beast, you have the teeth of iron, the claws of brass. What else did it say? It was devouring, right? It was devouring. Well, once you go into Daniel 7 and verse number 5, what did it say? And behold, a second beast like a bear, and it supported itself on one side, and there were 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth, and thus they said to it, arise, devour much flesh. So you see these elements that's being broken, that's being explained, how Daniel actually explains Daniel. So now you got the iron, you got the claws of brass, you got the devouring, you got that it was exceedingly great, it was terrible, and what else did it did? What else did it do? Utterly break into pieces, and it trampled the remainder with its feet. Well, you go to Daniel 8. Let's read it. Let's read 7 and 8. And I saw him coming up close to the ram, and he was ferociously enraged against him. And he smote the ram and broke both his horns, and there was no strength in the ram to stand before him. But he cast him on the ground and trampled on him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. And the he-goat grew exceedingly great, and when he was strong, his great horn was broken. And the 4 other horns rose up toward the 4 winds of heaven. So every element of this fourth beast is found within, we can find it dealing with the Medo-Persians. We can find it dealing with the Greeks. We can find it dealing with the Babylonians. All of these elements are within the fourth beast. The same elements was within the statue in Daniel chapter 2, and the same elements was inside of the great beast that came out of the sea in Revelation 13. So all of the things that what Daniel was saying is, all of these beasts that you're seeing, the fourth kingdom is going to have a part of all of it. The fourth kingdom is going to have characteristics of all of the kingdoms that was before it. So that's what he's doing with that. So within this fourth kingdom, a lot of things was going to go down, right? So we got the trampling. I'm gonna read a few more verses, then I will open it up again and see if anybody got anything they want to add, and then I'm gonna run through the rest of it, and then we could call it a night. And because I know we're looking for the Antichrist, and after I get done with this, we're finna actually get into who the Antichrist was. So Daniel 7:7. After this one, I looked, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and exceedingly strong, and his teeth were of iron, devouring and crushing to atoms. And it trampled the remainder with its feet. And it was altogether different from the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. Verse 8. I noticed his horns, and behold, another little horn came up in the midst of them. So this is during the fourth beast. And before it, 3 of his former horns were rooted out. And behold, there were eyes as the eyes of a man in this horn, and a mouth speaking great things. So this horn, it has a mouth to speak great things, and it has eyes of a man in it. What does this mean? Did not the other animals have eyes? So this eyesight that this horn has is different from the eyes that the regular beast had. And Daniel's going to actually explain why this horn was so different. See, all of these things are explained within Daniel. If you go and ask somebody, hey, what it would mean that the horn had eyes? What's all that about? They really can't give you no understanding. They can't give you no explanation. It comes back to the Sci-Fi Channel. But Daniel's finna actually explain it to you. So now, let's go to 21 and 22. And I beheld, and that horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them until the Ancient of Days came, and he gave judgment to the saints of the Most High, and the time came on, and the saints possessed the kingdom. Look at, according to Daniel 7, all of these things are happening in order, and it ends with the saints getting the kingdom. Okay, so now, Daniel 8, 8 through 12, it states, and the he grew, and the he goat grew exceedingly great, and when he was strong, his great horn was broken, and four other horns rose up in its place toward the four winds of heaven. And out of one of them came forth one strong horn, and it grew great toward the south and toward the host. And if anyone should know who the host is, and it magnified itself to the host of heaven. And there fell to the earth some of the host of heaven and of the stars, and they trampled on them. So, for the people that don't understand how the language, how biblical language works, Daniel gives us a crash course, and I'm almost done, so we can open it up for people want to speak before I move on to the next section. Daniel gives us a crash course on how to understand poetic literature left by the Hebrews. Notice what he said. This horn magnified, uplifted itself to the host of heaven, and there fell to the earth some of the host of heaven and of stars. So we have stars falling down. We got the host of heaven, which are, we know these will be the heavenly bodies per se, and the stars are falling down, and they trampled on them. Who was the they? I thought we was talking about one individual. Who was the they that trampled on them? You see how it's one but representing plurality. But anyway, verse 11. And this shall be until the chief captain shall have delivered the captivity. So the stars being trampled upon is going to happen until the chief captain comes and delivers the captivity, bring the captivity to the front, in other words. And by reason of him, who is the him? The chief captain. Remember this. Him, chief captain, one. This is going to be, remember we talked about the singular, meaning plurality. This is going to be very important to understand this, because we know that this represents the Antichrist. And by reason of him, the sacrifice was disturbed, and he prospered. Who? The chief captain. And the holy place shall be made desolate. So notice, you got the stars falling from heaven and being trampled upon, and that's happening until the captivity comes through. So we should understand the parallel between who's going into captivity and how it's being related to the stars falling from heaven. Hopefully we understand that this is allegorical language, parabolic language. The stars represents individuals and not the cosmos and what's going on. But anyway, so verse 12. And a sin offering was given for the sacrifice, and righteousness was cast down to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. And then, verse 23 through 26, and at the latter time of their kingdom, when their sins are coming to the full, there shall arise a king bold in countenance and understanding riddles. What did Daniel 7 say? This horn had eyes. Now we find out in Daniel 8, this same individual, he's bold in countenance and he has understanding. The eyes that he have, it represents understanding. So he's bold in countenance and he understand riddles, right? In verse 24, and his power shall be great. He shall destroy wonderfully and prosper and practice and shall destroy mighty men and holy people. What did we read up top? That there was going to be the host of heaven and the stars was going to be fall down and get trampled upon. And now we find out that mighty men are being destroyed and holy people. So hopefully we can see the parallel between stars, host of heaven, mighty men, holy people. But anyway, verse 24, and his power shall be great. I already read that. 25, and the yoke of his chain shall prosper. There is craft in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. By the craft, by craft shall destroy many, and he shall stand up for the destruction of many. Put that in the back of your mind. This Antichrist figure, he shall stand up for the destruction of many and shall crush them as eggs in his hand. So when he stand up, many get destroyed and they get crushed like eggs in his hand. So I'm gonna give the parallel real fast, and then I will open it up and see if anybody want to speak right now. I'm only gonna read Daniel 9:23 through 27, just to give us the context. This is what Daniel 9:23 says. At the beginning of thy supplication, the word came forth, and I come to tell thee, for thou art a man much beloved. Therefore consider the matter. Understand the vision. So what people don't tell you is that Daniel 9, the 70 weeks of Daniel, it's an explanation of a vision that already occurred. You only got Daniel 2. You got when Nebuchadnezzar was the little tree thing. You got the writing on the wall. You got the ram and the he goats being introduced. But I'm going to say that this is about the ram and the he goat as well as Daniel 7. And this is how we're going to know why this is about Daniel 7 and Daniel 8 right here. 70 weeks have been determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, for sin to be ended, and to seal up transgressions, and to blot out the iniquities, and make atonement for iniquities, and bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal the vision and the prophet, and to anoint the most holy. And thou shalt know and understand that from the going forth of the command for the answer and for the building of Jerusalem until Christ the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. And then the time shall return, and the street shall be built, and the wall and the time shall be exhausted. My bad. And after the 62 weeks, the anointed one shall be destroyed. We got a destruction of the anointed one. Now we found out who in Daniel 8 was being destroyed. But now it said the anointed one is being destroyed, and there is no judgment in him. And he shall destroy the city and the sanctuary with the prince that is coming. And we find out from Daniel 8, it's this king that knows and understands these riddles and etc. He is the one that's destroying the city and the sanctuary. So we got the anointed one and this Antichrist working together. The anointed one shall be destroyed, and there is no judgment in him. The anointed one. And he shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Who is the he? The anointed one. He shall destroy the city and the sanctuary with the prince that is coming. The anointed one is using the prince to destroy the city. And we know the one that destroyed the city is the Antichrist. They shall cut off, look, they shall be cut off with a flood. This is the city and the sanctuary. And to the end of the war, which is rapidly completed, he shall appoint the city to desolations. And it says rapidly completed, can't be 2,000 years. And 1 week shall establish the covenant with many. And in the midst of the week, my sacrifice and drink offering shall be taken away, and on the temple shall be the abomination of desolations, and at the end of time, an end shall be put to the desolation. So that's the explanation of Daniel 7 and 8 right there using Daniel 9. So we're going to actually find out who this Antichrist is in a moment. If anybody want to say something, this is the time to questions, response, and concerns.
Points of views on that. So what was like the bottom line of what you were saying? Because you said a lot. I was paying attention.
Okay, first of all, I established that there's a federal headship going on here. Daniel is using one one entity to represent a plurality, to represent many entities. So I went through showing a how he was doing that in several visions. He's using one, but that one actually stands for many. And then I went through and showed that this one that was going to be doing all of this ruckish toward the saints was going to be occurring during the fourth beast, the fourth kingdom. And during that fourth kingdom, when this one is introduced, uh, he's going to be living in the same timeline that the Messiah was going to be living in. So all of that has just been explained.
So you said the Antichrist came already or something? You said the same timeline as Christ.
Well, Daniel clearly state. Let me just read it one more. I'm gonna read it from Daniel. Daniel 9, 26. And after the 62 weeks, the anointed one shall be destroyed, and there is no judgment in him. So to me, the anointed one is Christ. And he shall destroy the city and the sanctuary with the prince that is coming. So Christ and this prince that is coming is in the same timeline.
So Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come. So you're saying that Antichrist has already come?
Yeah, that will be one of my understandings. Yes, the Antichrist has already came, but the point is who is the Antichrist and how did he come already? That's where we're gonna get to next.
All right, so cool. So now that I know the synopsis, the Antichrist has not come yet. We can we have the signs to identify when he's coming and who he's going to be. Read Daniel. This is all a time. Those chapters. There's Daniel 9. This is the time of restoration. You want to look if you really want to look at
Well, I want to respond to that's real fast, brother Mike, just to what brother Danny said before I continue. I think he on the phone now. Oh, there you go, brother Danny. Which you have missed in the premise because I kept hearing you said the Antichrist. No, no, you good. I kept hearing you said the Antichrist, and he haven't came yet, and we will know when he gets here. I'm pretty sure that's what you kept saying. The he's and the he's. Yeah, and you're insinuating through that the Antichrist was one individual that they were waiting on. I think that's what you're insinuating. But I have already showed through Daniel's visions that when he stated one singular, it stood for multiple plurals. So when you're making the Antichrist one individual, I'm going to show that the Antichrist were a plurality of individuals as in my next coming up. Are you fine? Is anybody else on the stage or in the audience want to say anything before I continue? All righty then. Well, I'm finna continue then. So now, Daniel 9 and 25, it states, "And thou shalt know and understand that from the going forth of the command for the answer and for the building of Jerusalem until Christ the Prince," put that in your mind, Christ the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. And then the time shall return, and the streets shall be built, and the wall and the time shall be exhausted. And after, verse 26, and after 62 weeks, the anointed one shall be destroyed, and there is no judgment in him. So this anointed one will be Christ the Prince. And he, now this is the important part. And he shall destroy the city and the sanctuary with the prince that is coming. Now, the prince that is coming, he's going to destroy the sanctuary and the city. Understand? One prince, right? One prince destroying the sanctuary and the city. And we know this one prince is the Antichrist. They shall be cut off with the flood, and to the end of the war, which is rapidly completed, he shall appoint the city to desolations. But remember, what Daniel said in Daniel 9:23, at the beginning of that supplication, the word came forth, and I am come to tell thee, for thou art a man much beloved. Therefore consider the matter. Understand the vision. So now, understand that Daniel 9:26 about this prince coming and destroying the city, this is an explanation of a previous vision that Daniel had already had. So, once we go to Daniel 8, I'm going to read verse number 9 through 11. And out of them came forth one strong horn, and it grew very great toward the south and toward the host. And it magnified itself to the host of heaven, and fell to the earth. And there fell to the earth some of the host of heaven and of the stars, and they trampled on them. So this is the Antichrist. Verse 11, and this shall be until the chief captain shall have delivered the city. Shall have delivered the captivity. And by reason of him, who's the him? The chief captain. The sacrifice was disturbed, and he prospered, and the holy place shall be made desolate. So we have to understand the chief captain in Daniel 8 and 11 is the prince in Daniel 9:26 who came and destroyed the city. Let me just read the rest of Daniel 9:26 again so we understand. And he shall destroy the city and the sanctuary with the prince that is coming, and they shall be cut off with a flood to the end of the war, which is rapidly completed. He shall appoint the city to desolations. Daniel 8 and 11 again. And this shall be unto the chief captain shall have delivered the captivity, and by reason of him the sacrifice was disturbed, and he prospered, and the holy place shall be made desolate. And if you keep reading, I'm going to read 12 and 13. And the sin offering was given for the sacrifice, and righteousness was cast down to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. And I heard one saint speaking, and a saint said to a certain one speaking, how long shall the vision continue? Even the removal of the sacrifice and the bringing in of the sin of desolation, and how long shall the sanctuary be trampled? And he says it, right? But once you go to Daniel 8:27, listen to what Daniel 8:27 says. And I, Daniel, fell asleep and was sick. Then I arose and did the king's business, and I wondered at the vision, and there was none that understood it. So this vision given in Daniel 8, Daniel did not understand it, and he said it was none that understood it. So when Daniel 9 comes around, he says, now I'm going to let you understand the vision. So the chief captain in Daniel 8 that brought in the destroyed the city, made it desolate, and did away with the sacrifice, is the same prince in Daniel 9 who came in and destroyed the city. So the chief captain and the prince is the same individual. So put that in your mind, put it in the back of your mind. Chief captain, prince, same individual. But when you ask a person, okay, who is the chief captain? Who is the prince? They can't give you no answers. So we're gonna go through it today. Daniel 10 and 4. This is what we're finna do now. We finna walk this story down. We finna walk it down. Daniel 10 and 4. On the 24th day of the month of the first month, I was near the great river, which is Tigris Edical. Remember, Daniel explains Daniel. And I lift up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a man clothed in linen, and his loins were girt with gold of Ophaz, and his body was as Tarsus, and his face was the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his legs as the appearance of shining brass, and the voice of his words as the voice of a multitude. Now, my Bible followers, we should know who Daniel is seeing. But if we don't understand who Daniel is seeing right now, we're going to go to Revelation 1 just to tell you who Daniel is seeing. Revelation 1, verse number 12 through 15. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me. And being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks was one like the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to his foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. And his head and his hair were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet were like unto fine brass, as if they burn in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. The same description that Daniel gave. Daniel is looking at the Messiah, the Son of Man, the King of Kings, the Mashiach, Christ himself, Yahweh, Jesus Christ, whatever name you want to use to invoke him, that's who Daniel was looking at. So now, that's important to know who Daniel was looking at, because what happens next in Daniel 10. Daniel 10, now, I want y'all to listen to the words that's used in Daniel 10, 12 and 13. Then said he unto me, fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thy heart to understand and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. But the prince of the king of Persia withstood me 1 and 20 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. So that's the KJV, right? When I read it out of the Septuagint, let's read what it says. But the prince of the kingdom of the Persians withstood me 21 days. And behold, Michael, one of the princes, came to help me, and I left him there with the chief of the kingdom of the Persians. So, first of all, this is when people kind of get off. This is when they drop pretty much understanding, because either it's too sci-fi-ish for them, or they don't understand how the ancient Jews looked at spirituality. But let me show you what's going on here. First of all, Daniel 10 and 13 says Michael is one of the princes. So we have to understand that Michael is a prince. Michael is also an archangel. So Michael is a prince. And look what he said right here. And I left him there with the chief of the kingdom of the Persians. So he said that, and then once we go to verse 20, it says, and he said, knowest thou wherefore I am coming to thee? But now I will return to fight with the prince of the Persians. So the prince of the Persians is the king, is the chief of the Persians. So you have an angel being called a prince. You also have an angel being called a chief. What's the significance of that? Daniel chapter 8, verse number 11. And this shall be until the chief captain shall have delivered the captivity. Chief captain, chief angel, prince angel. So it's plausible that the chief captain in Daniel 8 and 11 can be an archangel. It can be an angelic being, if you don't want to use archangel. Can be an angelic being. When you go to Daniel chapter 9, which is the explanation of Daniel 8, what does it say in Daniel chapter 9? After 62 weeks, so you got Christ the Prince, right? Christ the Prince. Christ was an angel. He was the angel of the Lord. Christ the Prince. And what is Christ the Prince doing in Daniel 9:26? The anointed one shall be destroyed, and he shall destroy the city and the sanctuary with the prince that is coming. So, Have anyone went through the book of Daniel with you and explained to you that maybe Daniel is speaking on angelic beings instead of your average everyday Joe? Maybe the chief captains is angelic beings like Daniel said they is. Maybe the princes that are fighting are angelic beings like Daniel said they are. Well, let's see if the princes are angelic beings. Let's see. Verse 13. But the prince of the kingdom of the Persians, withstood me 21 days. Or is anyone willing to say that a man withstood the Messiah 21 days? The Messiah, and it says, but Michael, one of the princes, came to help me. So are we saying that Michael needed to help the Messiah beat a man? Let's be for real. Understand what's being said in the book of Daniel. The princes that Daniel introduced are angelic in nature. The chief captains that Daniel introduced are angelic in nature. When Christ is speaking on a prince coming with him to destroy Jerusalem, this is angelic in nature. But remember, we said earlier, singular means plural. Singular, plurality, federal headship. And we're going to show you exactly what this means in a minute. Because, yes, I am making the proclamation right now, if you have caught on, who this prince was that came with Christ. But just in case you don't understand who I'm saying this prince is that came with Christ, let's let Daniel speak more about it. And he said, this is Daniel 10, 20 and 21. And he said, knowest thou, wherefore I am come to thee? And now I will return to fight with the prince of the Persians. And I was going in, and the prince of the Greeks came. So even in the statue, even in the animals, the beasts that he saw, these kingdoms were fighting each other. This all happened one after the other. The Greeks fought the Persians. So now, look at what verse 21 says. This is very important. This is going to unlock what's going on. But I will tell thee that which is ordained in the scripture of truth. I will tell thee that which is ordained in the scripture of truth. And there is no one that holds with me in these matters but Michael, your prince. Now we finna come into some problems. Christ said the only one fighting with him is going to be Michael, their prince. Let me say it again. Christ stated the only one that holds with him in the matters that he's talking about is Michael, the prince. Who's fighting with Christ? Michael, the prince. Let's go back to Daniel 9, 26.
When you say who's fighting with Christ, you're saying like in the end time?
Yes, in the time of the end. Yes, sir. Who's fighting with Christ? So now, alongside of Christ. So now, Daniel 9:26. And well, it's actually twofold, but we can get in there in a second. Daniel 9:26. This is what it states. And after 62 weeks, the anointed one shall be destroyed. We know that's Christ. We know that's Christ the Prince. And there is no judgment in him. And he shall destroy the city and the sanctuary with the prince that is coming. And they shall be cut off with the flood to the end of the war, which is rapidly completed. He shall appoint the city to desolations. So this is a judgment coming against Israel. So you got Christ being cut off by Israel. Christ is being cut off by Israel. And now we have the prince that Christ is bringing with him to destroy Israel. So who did Christ say fights with him? Michael. What is Michael? A prince. Who's coming with Christ in Daniel 9:26? A prince. What is the prince doing? Destroying Israel. Who was Michael the prince of? Israel. Who was the prince in Daniel 9:26? The Antichrist. Hold on now. So if the prince is the Antichrist is coming to destroy the city. Christ said the prince is fighting for him. So and Michael is the prince, then that would mean that Michael has to be the Antichrist. How is Michael the Antichrist and he's fighting for Christ? How can Michael, the archangel, be the Antichrist? Now, this is what I stated in the beginning of the lesson. When one body, one person represents a group of people. Once again, when one person represents a group of people, the statue represented all of the kingdoms. The beast represented all of the people in their kingdom. So we have throughout all of Daniel that one entity represented a body of another people. So we have, and then I showed you where Christ represented the saints. If we didn't got off with that, remember that I pulled from Daniel 7, verse number let me see here, where 13. And I saw in the night vision one coming with the clouds, the Son of Man, and to him was given dominion. Christ, given dominion, represents himself, but in the interpretation of the vision, what was the interpretation? What did the angel say that actually meant? The angel said the kingdom, verse 27, and the power of the greatness under the kingdom were given to the saints of the Most High. The vision said Christ. The interpretation said saints. So Christ represented who? The saints. So when we see Christ the Prince coming, Christ represents what? Okay, it should be once you know the New Testament, some of this should be unraveling for you what story they're talking about. Let me say it again. Christ represents the saints. Michael represents the wicked people that was coming against Jerusalem. And I know people want the wicked people to be the Romans. I know we do. But we're going to show you who the wicked people were that came against Jerusalem. And remember, the vision already said that I'm going to show you what's going to befall your people in the latter days. I know we want it to be about Rome. I know we do. But let's see who the Jews said this was about. So now, we're going to keep going on. So yes, the declaration is Michael is the Antichrist. What Michael stands for in Daniel is the Antichrist. But Michael himself, the angel, or Michael, what he represents, his federal body. Which one are we talking about? So let's continue. So, Daniel 11. We're going to give you the rundown on how things are going on in Daniel 11 because a lot of this stuff has gotten off on what's going on. So, Daniel 11, verse 2. And now I will tell thee the truth. Behold, there shall yet arise up 3 kings in Persia, and the fourth shall be far richer than all. And after that he is master of his wealth, he shall rise up against all the kingdoms of the Greeks. Now we didn't already saw where the Persians was fighting the Greeks already in Daniel chapter 8. But we're gonna give you a rundown on how what vision is being spoken on. So let's try to do this rundown real fast. My bad, y'all. Okay, my bad. I had to make sure my Facebook was still connected. Okay, so now Daniel 7 and 5. It states, and behold, a second beast like a bear, and it supported itself on one side And there were 3 ribs in its mouth, and that represents the 3 kings we just saw of Persia, between its teeth. And thus they said to it, arise, devour much flesh. So now, we're going to go to Daniel 11:4 now. So Daniel 11:2 is taking us to Persia. Daniel 11:4. And when his kingdom shall stand up, it shall be broken, and shall be divided to the 4 winds of heaven, but not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion, which he ruled over, for his kingdom shall be plucked up, plucked up, and given to others beside thee. So now, you go to Daniel 7:6. After this one I looked, behold, another wild beast as a leopard, and it had 4 wings upon, 4 wings of a bird upon it, and the wild beast had 4 heads, and power were given to it. And let's look at the verse 8, right? Because now we know so it's going in order. It went from Persia to Greek to the Grecians, and here in Daniel 7 it went from Persian to the Grecians. So now notice what he said. Something got plucked up, right? Plucked up. When you go to Daniel 7:8, I noticed his horns, and behold, another little horn came up in the midst of them, and before it 3 of the former horns were rooted out. I think the KJV says plucked up. Let me see. Daniel 7:8. Yep. The 3 horns were plucked up by the roots. So we got it rooted out, and behold, there were eyes as the eyes of a man in his horn, and the mouth speaking great things. So it's showing you that it's getting us ready to prepare for this 4th beast, which we know is the Roman Empire. But it's getting us prepared for it, right? So now, Daniel 11:5-6. So this is all preparation to get us prepared for the Roman Empire. So I'm here to tell everyone, once you get through 5 all the way down, it's in preparation for the Roman Empire. You remember how we went over earlier how this 4th beast had all the elements of every beast before it? Now we're finna see why this 4th beast had all of the elements of every beast before it. Because you're going to see all of the beasts dealing with it. You got the king of the north, king of the south, king of the west. All of these directions, all of these kingdoms, they're all going to be involved within this 4th beast. And we're finna see it all played out right here. So now, Daniel 11:5. And the king of the south shall be strong, and one of their princes shall prevail against him, and shall obtain great dominion. And after his years they shall associate, and the daughter of the king of the south shall come to the king of the north to make agreements with him, but she shall not retain power of arm, neither shall his seed stand. And she shall be delivered up, and they that brought her, and the maiden, and he that strengthened her in these times. And I want to read it from the KJV too. It says, and in the end of the years, they shall join themselves to, listen to this language, because I'm going to show you exactly what this is talking about. And in the end of years, they shall join themselves together. For the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. But she shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand, nor his arm. But she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and they that begot her, and he that strengthened her in these times. So what's happening? They're trying to join themselves together. The king daughter and the man, they're trying to join themselves together, but it's not going to work out. The power that they're looking for is not going to stand. Where do we hear that story at? Where does that sound familiar? It was supposed to be a marriage, but the people, the strength wasn't there. Well, once you go to Daniel chapter 2, 41 through 43, it states, and whereas, let me go to 40. And the fourth kingdom, which shall be strong as iron, so we know the fourth kingdom is the one that's of iron. We know that. And iron, as iron beats the powder and subdues all things, so shall it beat the powder and subdue. Let's listen to the words. And whereas, huh? Yeah, when I'm done. Yeah, I do 3 sections. I go all the way through. Then I stop. Then I go through my next section. Then I stop. Then I go through my next section. Then I stop. That's how I always do it on the platform. So yeah, man, don't in the middle of it, you kind of broke my thought. All right, so now verse 41. I know you good. Verse 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes, part of the earthenware and part of the iron, the kingdom shall be divided. Yet there shall be in it the strength of iron, as thou sawest iron mixed with earthenware. And whereas the toes and the feet were part of iron and part of earthenware, part of the kingdom shall be strong, and part of it shall be broken. Listen to verse 43. Whereas thou sawest the iron mixed with earthenware, they shall be mingled with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave together, as iron does not mix itself with earthenware. And once you look at it out of the Lexham English Bible, I believe, this is how it's stated there. It says, let's see here, verse 43. And in that you saw the iron mixed with wet clay, so they will mix in marriage, and they will not cling one to another, just as iron does not mix with clay. So what's happening in the book of Daniel? In Daniel 11, what are they trying to do here? In Daniel 11, we have, and after his years, they shall associate. And the daughter of the king of the south shall come to the king of the north. The king of the south, strong. So look, verse 5. And the king of the south shall be strong. The king of the south, strong like iron. The king of the south. The daughter, so look what it says. And after his years, they shall associate. And the daughter of the king of the south, strong, shall come with the king of the north, not strong, to make agreements with him, marriage, mingle themselves together. But she shall not retain power of form, neither shall his seed. You see how it's trying to explain to us, trying to use all of this imagery to explain to us? Neither shall his seed stand, and she shall be delivered up, and they that brought her, and the maiden, and he that strengthened her in these times. So, Brother Evan, what are you trying to say? I'm trying to say that the foot of the statue is happening here in Daniel 11 and 6. Once again, the foot of the statue, because I know people want it to stretch out and be about our times, and they'll come up with a million reasons how this is the Roman Empire and the Christian this and the Western world that and all that other stuff. But here we can see that this agreement in Daniel 11 and 6 is the mirror of what was said to happen in Daniel 2. So we're at the foot right now. So right now we're reading what happened during the foot of the statue. That's what we're reading. All right, so now, once you go to Daniel 11 and 7, it says, but out of the flower of her root there shall arise one on his place, and shall come against the host, and shall enter into the strongholds of the king of the north, and shall fight against them and prevail. So we got Daniel 7:20. And concerning it, 10 horns that were in his head, and the other came up and rooted up some of the former, which had eyes, and the mouth speaking great things, and his look were bolder than the rest. So let's see if we're on the right timeline here. So that was Daniel's 11, right? Let's see if we're on the right timeline. That's Daniel 11:7, when this flower comes up out of her root in place of them, right? So now, let's go to 12. It says, and he shall take the multitude, and his heart shall be exalted, and he shall cast down many thousands, but he shall not prevail. Verse 14. And in those times, many shall rise up against the king of the south, and the children of the spoilers of thy people shall exalt themselves to establish division, and they shall fall. Okay, now. So what did we just got introduced to? Israel. The Jews just got introduced right there in Daniel 11:14. So it stated, and in those times many shall arise up against the king of the south. So you got many trying to come against the strong king, and the children of the spoilers of thy people shall exalt themselves to establish the vision. What are they? What is he talking about? Establishing what vision? They're exalting themselves to establish what? And it said they're going to fail. What are they establishing? Well, let's see if we can find it. Daniel 8:10. And it magnified itself to the host of heaven. And there fell to the earth some of the host of heaven and of the stars, and they trampled on them. So we have the stars, and we know that this was a promise to Abraham. Your descendants is going to be like the stars in the sky, and this also was a promise to Jacob and Israel also, all about the same people, the stars of the sky. So, and there fell some of the earth, the host of heavens and the stars, and they trampled on them. So we have individuals being trampled upon. And understand, this happens before the captivity, before the offering is taken away. So these individuals are going to exalt themselves to establish the vision. See, the problem is with most people, with futurism, we haven't left out of the first century yet. We haven't bypassed the first century. We up here during the time of the Ptolemies and stuff. We're around this time where we got the Bernice and all them. We're around that time period. We haven't really made it to the New Testament time period just yet. And I'm going to show you how the New Testament time period is actually finna get introduced. And I'm finna show you here. And many times shall arise up, and the children of the spoilers of thy people shall exalt themselves to establish division, and they shall fail. And let's see here. Let's go to Daniel 11, verse 20 now. It says, let's see, and there shall arise out of his root one that shall cause the plant of the kingdom to pass over his place, earning kingly glory. And yet in those days he shall be broken, yet not openly, nor in war. All right, that's from the Septuagint. Let's read it out of the KJV now, just in case if the rendering needs to be a little bit easier. It says, then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom, but within a few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. So now there's going to be a person who raises taxes, right? And this person who raises taxes, he's going to be destroyed. But his destruction is not going to be in anger or in battle. Let's see if we can find that. You go to Luke chapter 2, verse 1. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed, every one into his own city. So let's see what happened to Caesar Augustus. Because remember, it said that he would not, whoever this individual is, he won't be destroyed in anger nor in war. So let's just see what happened to Caesar Augustus. Let's just see how he was destroyed. I'm just going to do just a quick search. Caesar Augustus death. And let's just see how he was destroyed. In August 1914 AD, 14 AD, 14 AD, this is what it says. Let's see here. Augustus died in AD 14 at the age of 75, probably from natural causes. And it says, oh no, that's from Wikipedia. Let's see here. See if we can find any other credible sites. Let's see if it says anything. Died, born in 63, adopted, his team rebranded at the time of his death. He was succeeded. Okay, it just said the time of his death. So we got Wikipedia saying that he died from natural causes. Let's see here. I'm gonna look at one more site, and then if it's not it, I'm just gonna have to roll with it. Today in August 19, Augustus dies after ushering in a golden era of stability and prosperity. After hunting down, 33, blah blah blah. Yep, I don't see it right there. That's on history. So from Wikipedia, it's saying that he died from natural causes. Rumors has it from natural causes. I'm pretty sure if he died in a battle or in a war, that information will be found everywhere to say he got killed in a war by anger or by etc. So I'm here to say that Caesar Augustus fits the bill. I'm here to say he fits the bill for what Daniel was talking about him coming a raiser of taxes. I would say Caesar Augustus fits that bill because we can find it in the New Testament. But this is 14 AD, so this is before Christ's ministry, right? So let's keep going and see if we can find out what happens next. Daniel 11 and 22. So I'm here to say now we are in the area of the New Testament now. So let's see if this goes on the New Testament. Verse 22. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overthrown from before him, and shall be broken. Yea, also the prince of the covenant. And let's see what it says in the Septuagint. And in the arms of him that overflows shall be washed away as with the flood from before him, and shall be broken. And so shall be the head of the covenant. So one of them say head of the covenant. The other one says the piece of the covenant. It said that he would be broken. I would say that's the death of the Messiah. That's when the Messiah is cut off. I would say that would be Daniel 8:25. And the yoke of his chain shall prosper. Therein is craft in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. And by craft shall destroy many, and he shall stand up for the destruction of many, and shall crush them as eggs in his hand. I would say Christ got destroyed within that, him crushing and destroying many. And once you go to Daniel 9:26, definitely this is when the prince of the covenant is taken out the way. Daniel 9:26. And after 62 weeks, the anointed one, Christ the Prince, shall be destroyed, and there is no judgment in him. So I would definitely say Daniel 11, verse 22, is when Christ is destroyed. So we are inside of the New Testament now. And the arms of him that overflow shall be washed away as with the flood from before him, and shall be broken, and so shall be the prince of the covenant. So now, you go to Daniel 11, and I'm almost done, y'all. I'm almost done. You go to Daniel 11 and 30. For the Scythians, and if anybody know what that is, that's the Romans. That's the Scythians. That's another name for Romans. The Romans. For the Scythians issuing forth shall come against him, and he shall be brought low, and shall return, and shall be incensed against the holy covenant. And he shall do thus, and shall return, and have intelligence with them that have forsaken the holy covenant. Now, who would that be? That would be Israel that forsakes the holy covenant. Look what verse 31 says. And seed shall spring up out of him. You see right here? This is seeds with an S. And seed shall spring up out of him. And they shall profane the sanctuary of strength. And they shall remove the perpetual sacrifice and make the abomination desolate. Hold on. So you mean to tell me that Daniel 11:31 says it's going to be people that profane the sanctuary and remove the perpetual sacrifice? Meanwhile, in Daniel earlier, it said the Antichrist or the horn was going to be the one that do this. It stated the horn, the one that's speaking great things and magnify himself. He was going to be the one that take away. The chief captain was going to be the one that comes in and destroy the city and the sanctuary and take away the daily sacrifice. But here in Daniel 11:30, we find out that that one individual spoken of before time actually represents many people. That's where I was going from the beginning. The single person represents the corporate body. Even though you see the words one or the Antichrist or an Antichrist in Daniel, it doesn't mean one person. All throughout Daniel's time period, the one always represented the many. And if you don't want to say always, I say over half of the times, the one always represented the many. This is why John can say, you guys are looking for the Antichrist. There are many Antichrists today. But anyway, let's keep going. Go to verse 33. And the intelligent of the people shall understand much. Yet they shall fall by the sword, and by flame, and by captivity, and by spoil of many days. In fact, I should have read 31. And the transgressor and the transgressors with an S shall bring about a covenant by deceitful ways, but a people, more than one, knowing their God, shall prevail and do valiantly. And the intelligent of the people shall understand much, yet they shall fall by the sword, and by flame, and by captivity, and the spoils of many days. Now, who did he say is bringing in all that? The seeds of him is coming in and bringing all of this destruction. But once Daniel 8:25, it says, let me see if I can get there again. And the yoke of his chain shall prosper. There is craft in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by craft shall destroy many, and he shall stand up for the destruction of many. Remember that again, y'all. He's going to stand up for the destruction of many. But once you go to verse 11, it says, and this shall be until the chief captain shall have delivered the captivity, and by reason of him the sacrifice was disturbed, and he prospered, and the holy places should be made desolate. But we find out in Daniel 11, it's not a him. He's not doing it. It's his seeds with an S. They are the one that's doing it. So even though it says him, one, it's plural, many. So now, once again, I didn't already show that Michael was the prince of Israel. Michael fought with Christ. We can't get around it. Michael is a chief captain. So if Christ represented the good saints, guess who his fighting partner would represent? The bad saints. So if Daniel is speaking on the Antichrist as the one who comes in and destroy the city and cause all this chaos, and then later on as the vision progress, we find out it's actually the people who do away with the sacrifice. It's the people of Israel that's doing all of these things that it was said the Antichrist was going to do. The people are the corporate body of Michael. So Michael will be the Antichrist in the scenario, but he represents the wicked of Israel. So now, I'm almost done. I got three more, and then I'll be done. So Daniel 8, verse 23 now. So we are here. We have made it. Am I still picking up? Can y'all still hear me? Okay, bet. So we have made it here. Daniel 8:23. Look what the Bible says. Hold on. Do I want 8:23? That should rise up. No, I don't want 8:23. I want 8:25. And the yoke of his chain shall prosper. There is craft in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by craft shall destroy many. Listen to what it says. And he shall stand up for the destruction of many. Daniel 12:1. And at that time, Michael, the great prince, shall stand up, that stands over the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of tribulation, such tribulation as has not been from the time that there was a nation on the earth, even until that time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, every one written in the book. See, when people used to read this, they used to read it. Michael's going to stand up, and he's going to deliver the people and protect the people. That's how people read it. That's not what it says. It says when Michael stands up, that's when the time of tribulation that has never existed nor ever shall be was going to occur. According to Daniel 8:25, when this Antichrist that magnified himself, this chief captain, when he stood up, many people were going to be destroyed. So we can clearly see Michael is the Antichrist figure. So all we got to find out is now, when exactly, because if Michael is the Antichrist figure, and it represents the evil Israelites, when exactly did this Daniel 9:26, when did it come into fulfillment? When was the anointed one destroyed, and the prince that came, he destroyed the city and the sanctuary? If I'm saying that Michael is the Antichrist and he represents wicked Israel, then I should be able to find in history where wicked Israel fulfilled Daniel 9:26. If my logic is right, and if everything is saying, because people say it's in the future, right? It's happening today. The Antichrist haven't came yet. I'm bugging out, right? So if my premise is correct, if Michael represented wicked Israel in Daniel's vision, the body of wicked Israel, And Daniel 9:26 is about Michael, wicked Israel, destroying the city and the sanctuary. If my premise is correct, I should be able to find it in history. And also, remember I said this chief captain, this Antichrist, this Michael, he actually stopped the sacrifices too. So I should be able to find in history where wicked Israel stopped the sacrifices. If what I'm saying is right, I mean, let's see if I can do just that. Let me see here. I'm gonna go to the War of the Jews, right? War of the Jews, chapter 4. Book 4, chapter 6, section 3. Let's see what Josephus recorded happened in the first century. Let's see if we gotta make the 70 weeks of Daniel be in today's time. Let's see if the Antichrist has to live today in the 21st century. Well, let's see here. This is during the time of the first century, the siege of Jerusalem. Josephus, let's see what he says right here. This is about the Zealots. These are the ones, these are the Jews, right? It says right here, but these Zealots came at last to the degree of barbarity, as not to bestow a burial either on those slain in the city or those that lay on the roads, but as if they had made an agreement to cancel both the laws of their country and the laws of nature. Hold on now. I thought didn't Daniel say that this Antichrist, he's going to think to change laws and time? And they make that be the Pope, right? They want that to be the Pope or whoever, right? Christian churches and pastors and wherever else. But it says here in the first century, these zealots, that their actions was as if they made an agreement to cancel both the laws of their country, ain't that changing laws to cancel, and the laws of nature, time, and etc., right? And at that time, they that defiled men with their wicked actions, they would pollute the divinity itself also. Hold on, they're trying to go against God also? Are you sure, Josephus? Josephus? They left the dead bodies to putrefy under the sun. And at the same punishment was allotted to such as bury any of those that deserted. So let's keep going now. These men therefore trampled upon all the laws of men and laughed at the laws of God. Doesn't this not seem antichristous? I mean, if I would write down what an antichrist should do, it seems like I would use some of these to explain it. These men therefore trampled upon all the laws of men and laughed at the laws of God. And for the oracles of the prophets, they ridiculed them as the tricks of jugglers. Yet did these prophets foretell many things concerning the reward of virtue and the punishments of vice, which when these zealots violated, they occasioned the fulfilling of those very prophecies belonging to our own country. For there was a certain ancient oracle of those men, the first century zealots, that the city should then be taken and the sanctuary burnt by right of war, when a sedition should invade the Jews, and their own hand should pollute the temple of God. Now, while these zealots did not quite disbelieve these predictions, they made themselves the instruments of their accomplishment. Hold on, Josephus. So you mean to tell me that Daniel 9, the 70 weeks, was fulfilled in your day? And the Jews that came in that violated, they was the one that was laughing and going against God trying to change laws, tried to change times, and etc., and was killing people who was trying to adhere and obtain the law of God? Hold on now. So you mean to tell me those are Antichrist people that Daniel was speaking of, not the Pope? But let's I mean let's go to another one. Let's go to War of the Jews, Book 6. War of the Jews, Book 6, Chapter 2, Section 1. Let's see what it says. And now Titus gave orders to his soldiers that were with him to dig up the foundations of the tower of Antonia and make him a ready passage for his army to come, while he himself had Josephus brought to him. For he had been informed that on that very day, which is the 17th day of Panamos, Tammuz, the sacrifice called the daily sacrifice had failed and had not been offered to God for want of men to offer it, and that the people were grievously troubled at it, and commanded him to say the same thing to John that he said once before, that if he had any malicious inclination for fighting, he might come out with many of his men as he pleased in order to fight without the danger of destroying either his city or temple, but that he desired he would not defile the temple, nor thereby offend against God, that he might, if he pleased, offer the sacrifices that were now discontinued by any of the Jews whom he should pitch upon. And you can keep reading. It tells us that the reason why the daily sacrifice was taken. Well, let's read it. To be sure that thou hast kept the city wonderfully pure for God's sake. The temple also continues entirely unpolluted. Now, nor hast thou been guilty of any lie impiety against those who, for assistance, those hoping. He still received his accustomed sacrifices. Thou wretch that thou art, if anyone should deprive thee of thy daily food, thou wouldst esteem him to be an enemy to thee. But thou hopest to have that God for thy supporter in this war, whom thou have deprived of his everlasting worship. And thou imputest those sins to the Romans, to who to this very time take care of our laws observed, and almost compel these sacrifices to be still offered, which have by any means been intermitted. So in other words, what he's telling them, that the Jews themselves, dealing with the war against Rome, they stopped their own sacrifices. They stopped their own sacrifices in order to keep fighting. And Titus was there, or was it Vespasian? Hold on. Who was it? Titus was there saying, hey guys, I know you guys been doing this daily sacrifice for years now. You guys need to continue that, and we'll continue the war around that. And they was like, nah, forget all that daily sacrifice stuff. So we got the Jews stopping their own daily sacrifices. We got the Jews destroying their own city. This is the last one. This is another prophecy that he said, and then I'll be done. Thou hast indignation at me again, and makest a clamor at me, and reproaches me. Indeed, because it's the same chapter and everything. It's just a little further lines down. Indeed, I cannot deny, but I am most worthy of worse treatment than any of this amounts to, because in opposition to fate, I make this kind of invitation to thee, and to endeavor to force deliverance upon those whom God had condemned. And who is there that does not know what the writings of the ancient prophets contain in them, and particularly that oracle, which is just now going to be fulfilled upon this miserable city. Josephus wrote this first century. So I don't know how we get the Pope out of this, but for they foretold that this city should be taken away when somebody shall begin the slaughter of his own countrymen. And are not both the city and the entire temple now full of dead bodies of your countrymen? It is God, therefore, it is God himself who is bringing on this fire to purge that city and temple by means of the Romans and is going to pluck up this city, which is full of your pollutions. This is Josephus speaking to the first century Jews about God's judgment was Rome coming in to destroy the city and the sanctuary. Daniel 9:26, same thing spoken of by Christ in Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 17, Luke 21. This is all about Rome coming in to destroy Jerusalem via the destruction given by Christ, aka the Messiah, or who they call God in the scripture. So, Michael definitely was the Antichrist figure in Daniel. He represented the body of wicked Israel. Christ used wicked Israel to judge themselves first before he brought the Romans in. Michael, the great prince, stood up, and him standing up was equivalent to him bringing those zealots in to destroy the city and the sanctuary. Why? Because when they killed the Messiah, they said, let his blood be upon us and our children. And the Lord was like, say less. He got it. All right, so that's all I want to bring out. Anybody got any questions or concerns? I am done with my presentation, and now we can open up the floor. Thank everyone for listening in. This is Evan Erger from the Assembly of Sound Doctrine. There's more to come. Hey, bro, you already know it's coming, fam. You know it's coming. We got to put this on wax. So we can't deny it. I know we want to. I know we want it to be the Pope. I know we want it to be everybody except who it is. So we want this. We want it to be the Christian church. We want to have a reason why we don't have to go to church. We want to have a reason why Christianity is wrong. We got to have a reason. And why not go to one of the most symbolic books outside of Revelation, Daniel chapter 12, and Daniel chapter 8, Daniel chapter 9, all of those, one of the most symbolic books. Why not go there and try to pull doctrine from? But this is over with now. All right, thank y'all for listening in.
Thank you for clicking on the channel. AOSD. Assembly of Sound Doctrine Chandler. Assembly of Sound Doctrine. AOSD. RPK-Resurrection Prophet Kingdom. Like, subscribe, share. Let's go. Come get a lesson. I'm teaching blessings. No need for guessing. I'm knowledge testing. It's truth time. The wise will shine. And the wicked will pine. I'm a righteous kind. Straight out of trouble, I'm keeping it subtle. Just me and my brothers and sisters. They love us, we fixing the puzzle, no stressing. I come to the bunker, the struggle with aunties and cuz. Wanna read it, believe it, that's your feedback. See it and need it like a kid bag. Breaches and pieces like a Kit Kat, Akis and I get seasoned. It's a Hollywood, not Dollywood. Album love, the kingdom within. AOSD is finessing. RPK, let your journey begin. It's a Hollywood, not Dollywood. Album love, the kingdom within. AOSD is finessing. RPK, let your journey begin. AOSD, 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 Assembly of Sound Doctrine.